Thanks for joining us. These are some stills from a very recent residency that Blanka did in Prague, where she introduced some of these techniques to actors there. I wonder if you would talk a little bit about what Hothouse is and how the technique, the knowing body or the body that knows, and
a lot of it does about really more about how to make the body completely flexible and alert body, right? And it connects a lot with work with the voice inside of the body. And the work that we have been doing is based from actually a German, Jewish German teacher, Alfred Wolfson, who was born in the 19th century, and then during the First World War, he was working as a nurse in the war, in the field, and he was actually separating the dead bodies from bodies that were still alive. And what he was struck with was with the sounds that were coming out of people's bodies at that time, at the time of hurt. And he actually was suffering afterwards with kind of PTSD, and was hearing these voices in his head. And he started to cure himself by studying voice, and was actually kind of imitating and learning how to create these voices that were so unusual that he heard. And out of that came his technique, that then was developed further by actually Artaud and Grotowski, Roy Hart in France, and also Jean-René Toussaint, who was working then with the company. I brought him to Philadelphia, and for about 2 or 3 years, we were able to get from Knight Foundation funding to support workshops in Philadelphia for actors. And actors were paid to when they were taking these workshops. Normally you pay for a workshop, but here actually actors were paid $700 a week to take part in the workshop. And through these 2 or 3 years, I think we got to about 120 actors in Philadelphia. And that was the beginning of the company. Out of these people, then I chose 14 people to become part of the Hothouse. And the work is very much based on this idea of creating fluidity between emotion, voice, and movement. And the idea is that we are not teaching the actors anything, and that's kind of why it's called What the Body Knows, is that you have the information that the body has the memory inside already. We have just created, through our culture and civilization, we have created these obstacles that prevent us from using our body fully. And so the trick is for us to break through these barriers and rediscover what is there. So, in voice alone, I think we discuss in our work the idea that we have inside our body all these different voices, but our culture teaches us to use this social voice, which is very much a voice that is kind of nice and pleasant, doesn't insult anybody, doesn't provoke anybody, right? But it's not a great voice for the actor because it ends up doesn't give you the possibilities to explore all the all the different situations that we find ourselves in, and the terror or the beauty of life, right? So those are the kind of exercises developed to discover and explore, to find these voices inside of our body. And when you are discovering these voices, how does this shape your body? How does this voice, this energy that's coming from the voice and from the breath, how does it shape the body? Or if the body is creating a shape, how does it influence the voice? So creating this fluidity, right? And how out of that can be born, an emotion can be born, right? Instead, again, imposing an emotion, deciding intellectually, oh, this character is angry. Well, when character is angry, you can also suddenly feel victorious or sorry for something within that anger, yeah. Or you can, through that anger, start to love somebody, right? And there are all these possibilities. You can move through all this. Emotions is something that is in constant motion. So we are working on this flexibility and this motion of emotions.
Mm.
So that's kind of maybe how I would speak about that. Yeah.
Thank you. Certainly the work that you did with my classes this semester earlier um, really was a great experience for them in terms of getting out of the head and into the body, and not just into the body, but into each other's bodies. And it was a very different and I would say a way of opening them to a whole new approach and perspective to making theater.